Hello everyone! So, as many of you already know, the Brawl Stars team made an appearance at San Diego Comic-Con last month. Not only did they set up a full Star Park-themed booth to promote the game, but they also held a Q&A panel where they answered some fan questions about the lore and characters. One answer in particular caused quite a bit of discussion, and it was about Janet's age. Here's a clip from Kairos's interview with the Brawl Stars community managers during the event.
How old is Janet actually?
Damn, before, I really want to know why people want to know that.
We're gonna pretend it's because they really care about Janet.
Janet is 16 years old.
Okay, thank you, we're gonna move.
So there it is. Janet has officially been confirmed to be 16. Now if you're out of the loop, she's also one of the most simped 4 female brawlers in the game. She practically launched the wave of simping communities like R Janet Simps, which became a whole trend. This kind of attention led Supercell to lean into more female brawlers with appealing designs. An example is Melody, who started off as Janet's rival, but the two became friends in the 2025 Good Randoms music video. So here's the big question. Was it a mistake to confirm her age now, after all this time and attention? Was it too late, or was it the right call? Let's find out. Let's break down why confirming her as underage after she'd already become one of the most simped brawlers is a foolish decision. It's confusing when a character is designed to look and act like an adult, only for the creators to later state she's a minor. Even though she's labeled a minor, her model and proportions are nearly identical to those of adult-coded brawlers. Characters like Mandy, Maisie, Juju, and Charlie all share the same visual mold, and this Reddit comparison shows Janet fits right in with them. Some argue that newer brawlers like Melody and Mandy aren't exact copies of Janet's model, and while this is true due to slight differences like height or outfit design, they still follow the same base silhouette and proportions, making the reuse hard to ignore. To illustrate how this issue extends beyond Brawl Stars, let's look at examples from other media such as several princess characters in One Piece, who are clearly designed to be sexualized, despite being only 16. Take Rebecca from One Piece, for example. Her outfit is extremely revealing, and yet she's canonically 16. So this isn't just a Supercell problem. It reflects a broader pattern in animation and game design where underage characters are given adult-coded appearances, which naturally causes confusion, backlash, and debate. Janet fits squarely into that mold. If Supercell truly wanted to curb inappropriate reactions to Janet, they could have taken a similar approach to what they did with Jessie. As shown in this official art, Edgar, Penny, and Jessie were originally depicted as being around the same age, often shown interacting together. Jessie in particular was clearly framed as being close friends with Penny, with the two appearing together in multiple official illustrations and promotional artwork. Jessie originally looked like a preteen or young teen on par with characters like Penny and Edgar, but was later redesigned to clearly appear as a younger child. This comes from the complete remodel of Jessie in 2021, which she not only looks but is way more different, making her a lot more younger than the previous one. The change was deliberate and visual, signaling her age to players. So why wasn't the same level of clarity applied to Janet if they were serious about portraying her as a minor? It would have been an ideal chance to diversify the visual lineup of female brawlers, especially since so many of them share the same body type and aesthetic. But instead, Supercell reused the same adult-coded design style as mentioned earlier, likely because it's easier, more marketable, or both.
It's just the other lady again.
What?
She just changed their makeup.
What? Which
The one from the copy pasta.
Janet. What? It's not. It's no.
That's just Janet.
No, it's not.
That's her. She
Janet?
just changed her makeup.
Charlie.
That's
Janet.
her. That's
Charlie.
her.
No. It's pink hair.
It's white. It's just a different light.
Like different colored skin.
I think it's the same person, man.
I'm gonna break it down for you, but give me a second. Yeah, this design genuinely, I think, was like the downfall where Brawl Stars just started to make more horny designs.
What makes this more puzzling is that they didn't clarify her age up front. Rather than making it known at launch, they casually mentioned it a year later on an obscure podcast, and only gave a direct confirmation nearly 3 years after her release. Here's the clip from the podcast 2 years ago where the designer of Janet named Fernanda mentions a bit of her age.
Yeah, when like we released the Brawlers, like a bunch of fan arts was kinda not safe for work.
Yeah.
I was like, she's a teenager, guys. But yeah.
At this point, Janet's design is so ingrained that redesigning her this late to look younger would feel forced. If that wasn't their intent to begin with, then the more natural fix would be to acknowledge that she was always meant to be an adult character and that the age label was the real inconsistency. It really seems like Supercell has no clear direction when it comes to character ages. As was mentioned earlier, Penny and Jessie were once considered the same age, but now Jessie's been redesigned to look like a small child or even a toddler, while Penny remains largely unchanged. Colette was originally treated like a young teen, but after the controversy surrounding the Paulette loading screen art, which many saw as suggestive, they retconned her into being an adult in order to avoid backlash. These kinds of abrupt shifts raise serious questions about consistency and foresight in their character development. In fact, from early on, the ages of characters were even stated to be vague on purpose, but they turned around on that and threw it out of the window, considering Janet's direct age confirmation. And it's not just age that they can't keep straight. Even something as simple as a character's height varies wildly between official depictions, affecting how players interpret maturity and relationships. With these visual inconsistencies piling up, it's no wonder the player base can't agree on what's canon. In-game, heights are already a little elastic, but once you compare them to official animations, the differences get wild. Some characters shrink or stretch dramatically between formats, enough to make you question which version is supposed to be real. And while height alone doesn't determine age, it does affect how we interpret a character's maturity, presence, and relationships. Take RT and Bonnie. In some animations, RT looks noticeably smaller than Bonnie, yet in-game they're practically the same size. That's a pretty big shift, especially for characters whose designs seem otherwise consistent. Then there's Edgar and Bibi. In one animation, Edgar is much taller than her, creating a clear visual difference between the two. But in another animation, they're eye to eye. Here you can't even chalk it up to game versus animation, as it's the same medium contradicting itself. And if you think that's extreme, consider Surge. In one official animation, he's literally towering over the skyline. That's led some players to genuinely believe Surge is canonically hundreds of meters tall. Yet in other animations and promo art, he's just a bit taller than your average brawler. So which is it? On their own, these height and size inconsistencies might seem harmless. Together, though, they can affect how audiences interpret character behavior, interactions, and the boundaries of the lore, which brings us to one of the most glaring examples. One of the clearest signs of how careless Supercell can be with age dynamics is the situation with Edgar and Bibi. At one point, there were scrapped animations suggesting that Bibi was going to kiss Edgar in an official animation. Bibi was shown in official artwork getting hard eyes for Buster, who is an adult as a result of Angelo's love arrows. This confirms Bibi as an adult. Edgar was confirmed to be a child on release. Do you see the problem now? That raises a pretty obvious red flag. Why would they even explore that kind of interaction? It's not just a one-off moment either. Even if they weren't an official ship, their repeated appearances together, from Cyber Brawl animation to the Ollie's music video, suggest that someone on the creative team was at least comfortable implying it. These internal inconsistencies don't stay behind the scenes. They spill over into how the community perceives and discusses characters. This brings us back to Janet. The debate around her age lasted for over a year, required 2 separate clarifications, and she was the only character singled out for an age question at the Comic-Con. This clearly shows that it wasn't a minor issue. Supercell is aware how intense the fan art for Janet got, and it's no secret that Janet's popularity includes a large number of people who were, and still are, attracted to her. Many will quietly carry on, but others will double down, bringing up arguments like, "I'm younger than her," or "The age of consent in my country is 16. These statements will provoke backlash, sparking never-ending debates over morality that accomplish nothing. Janet is one of the most popular brawlers in the fan base when it comes to being drawn or personality and whatnot, so it's going to get a lot of attention. It'll just be endless cycles of arguing worse than before, and the reputation of Janet's fan base as a collective group will take a nosedive, along with possibly the whole Brawl Stars community. And it's not just the visuals sparking debate. Fans have also scrutinized certain voice lines, interpreting them as suggestive, which raises questions about how the characters are presented. If Janet is canonically a minor, then it raises serious questions about how she's been depicted in official content. In one of her voice lines, fans have nicknamed it Janet Moans, not because they're exaggerating, but because that's exactly what it sounds like. Even the Brawl Stars wiki labels it that way in the transcript. Characters like Melody, Mandy, and Willow have had their moaning voice lines pointed out and called sus, so it's odd that Janet slid under the radar or gets excused. Here are some clips where the 4 brawlers mentioned would do a sound that makes you very unsettled.
Melodians, don't touch my candies, Chester!
And while Melody, Mandy, and Willow's moans are alongside some words in their voice lines, Janet's much louder and is the entire voice line. But here's where it gets weirder. Unlike the previously mentioned brawlers, there is one who doesn't even moan, yet still got flack for her voice line.
This is so exciting!
Even her awkward laugh got interpreted as a moan and sparked quite a huge reaction, despite it not even being remotely suggestive.
This is so exciting!
Shut up!
So a harmless laugh gets put on blast, all the while Janet's actual moan line, front and center, somehow gets a pass. How does that make sense? And it's not just in her audio because her visual portrayal tells the same story. In an official animated short, Janet was depicted with exaggerated proportions compared to her in-game model, especially through lighting and shading that emphasized her chest. This made her design feel more mature and suggestive, which this kind of style is usually reserved for adult characters. When Colette received similar treatment in her Paulette loading screen, the backlash led Supercell to confirm she was an adult. Both Colette and Janet were stated to be teens, Colette via her hypercharged name, Teen Spirit, and Janet in an official podcast, yet they were treated differently. Colette's sexualized loading screen prompted a retcon to adulthood, while Janet received exaggerated proportions in Kenji's animation short, directly clashing with her age label of 16. This isn't just an anime-style quirk. In the Startoon animation, Colette was drawn in a similar style, but kept her proportions, proving Supercell can stylize without over-sexualizing. That makes Janet's depiction and Colette's old loading screen deliberate artistic choices, not accidents. How does a game aimed at kids commission an artist, end up with suggestive artwork of a teenage character, and somehow let it pass all internal checks? Was no one on the dev team paying attention, or did they see it and only act after the backlash? If it's the latter, that's even more concerning because it suggests they were fine with the content until the community forced a response. And this isn't an isolated case either. Supercell has a pattern of reactive decisions, not proactive, across multiple areas. Issues only get addressed when fans call them out or when backlash threatens their bottom line. This pattern shows up in age retcons, character redesigns, and even in other areas like event content. For example, during the collab, music that was AI-generated nearly made it into the game. It was only after fans spotted its similarity to existing AI compositions that the team removed it. This slip-up is another instance where content was greenlit without thorough oversight, reinforcing the idea that decisions are often reactive rather than preemptive. This is the music that was supposed to be used for the collab event menu music.
Well. Draw 4, draw 2, you can't get through. Stack 'em up high, see the color I'ma choose.
These examples, from visual retcons to AI-generated music, suggest a recurring lack of planning and review, or at least a willingness to wait until backlash forces corrections. It's not just lore and presentation. Supercell's reactive approach shows up in the game's core systems too. When the True Gold Dug glitch hit during the #Quest4Quests event in 2025, the intended celebration turned into a problem with uneven rewards, outraged player threads, and a scramble to roll out compensation. What should have been a feel-good moment ended up being a lesson in damage control. A similar thing happened 3 years earlier during the December 2022 Trophy Road rework. A bug let some players claim the entire track twice while others missed rewards entirely. And then uneven compensation piled on more frustration. Instead of preventing the problem, the devs had to scramble mid-event to patch it and hand out compensation, which still went wrong for some players. Despite the fact that nothing was lost and most people actually gained from this, it seemed like most were upset regardless. Taken together, these two events form a clear pair of a big compensation failure, spaced 3 years apart. Then there's the infamous $10 problem analogy from game lead Frank Kyenberg, where he compared fixing minor bugs to earning revenue from skins. Players erupted, sparking backlash over the company allegedly putting profit before polish. The reaction was so strong it spawned an entire subreddit, $10 problem, dedicated to cataloging issues the community believes will never be fixed because they don't generate revenue. With even its own sister subreddit, our 10-cent problem for smaller bugs. While not a bug in itself, this moment cemented the perception that profit takes priority, so every future slip could be judged through that lens. And who could forget the megabox fiascos? In 2019, players discovered a surprising offer of 49 megaboxes for just 49 gems, which spread like wildfire before being patched. Fast forward 3 years later, and there came the legendary 140 megabox glitch. For just a couple of bucks, a lucky few walked away with hundreds of dollars worth of rewards. In response to the uproar, all players got was a tweet from Frank stating there was nothing to be done about it. For those who had spent far more money over time, it was infuriating to see their investment undermined overnight. Some said it made them question buying any future offers at all, figuring it was safer to just wait for the next hiccup. Two nearly identical mistakes separated by years, both ending with the same erosion of trust. To be fair, Supercell usually does address these problems in the end. The issue is how their fixes often come late, feel uneven, or create new frustrations altogether. Instead of diffusing controversy, their responses can spark a second round of backlash. So what does it add up to? Is this Supercell only making a few mistakes across many years? Or is it that once enough time passes, they forget the last blow-up and repeat it again? Both readings are possible, but only one suggests they'll keep stepping on the same rake. All of this context, from the clumsy fixes to the repeated controversies, matters because it sets the stage for why the Janet situation is different. Unlike a glitch or a botched update, presenting a minor in sexualized ways can't be shrugged off. That's where the sense of what's right and wrong is crossed. It's hard to believe Supercell learned from the Colette incident. Given their continued mishandling of these issues, it's likely another controversy surfacing is just a matter of time. If Brawl Stars is meant to be a game for all ages, it feels irresponsible to present a character as a minor while depicting her in a way that draws attention to adult features. Some might argue that Janet's appearance in the animation doesn't count because it was only a few seconds long, but that doesn't excuse how she was drawn. Sexualizing a character who is explicitly labeled as underage, whether for 5 seconds in a background animation or permanently on a loading screen, still communicates the same message, that it's acceptable to present minors in ways that appeal to adult audiences. That's the moral line. Once it's crossed, the length of time it's on screen becomes irrelevant. At this point, Supercell has 3 options when it comes to Janet. First, they could stick with her being 16. The benefit is that the age question is technically settled, but the downside is a never-ending loop of online debates, legal gray areas, and moral arguments that no one ever fully agrees on. Second, they could redesign her to look more like a teenager. This might reduce inappropriate attention, but it risks backlash from fans who like her current design. Similar changes in the past, like Melody's height adjustment, Brock's hair change, or when Mortis lost his hat, were met with strong pushback and eventually reverted. And finally, the third, most practical option is to simply make Janet an adult. Some might call it a retcon, but it would resolve the core issue with minimal fallout. Her design could be appreciated without uncomfortable disclaimers or moral tightrope walking, and the community could move on from the kind of discourse that's damaged other fandoms' reputations. So, that's all that we know so far about the situation with Janet's canon age, Supercell's inconsistencies with the lore and transparency with the community, and the possible solutions. What are your thoughts on this situation and the opinions suggested to address the issue? Do you agree, or are you against it? Let me know in the comments section down below. If you agree that Supercell needs to address this inconsistency, share this message or speak out in your own way, because silence is exactly what lets bad design choices slide. The more voices speak up, the harder it is to ignore. Here's the message Chester, as known as Mandy's boyfriend, would like to tell you.
Share, like, and subscribe.